Are you ready? Are you ready? Yeah, baby. Ready, set, hit it. I saw you were with them last night. I saw you were with them last night. Don't burn the bridge, burn the paper. Yeah, that's Don't Burn the Bridge by Billy D, coming to a venue near you in the next several months. It's still a labor of process, Sean, to get back in the studio with the volume of work I have on my plate in my office and a few other things that are going on. It's difficult, but now that Easter's over, I've already told Dale, my producer, that we're going to get back in studio, cut 4 or 5 songs, and then I can start putting out business cards with QR codes going on to different websites. Yeah, I mean, serious, and say, here's my genre, plus I got about 15 or 20 covers that I can play. I think it'll cover me for 2 hours. If somebody wants me to play for 3, I don't know if I could do that.
Well, you know, you got to vamp them out a little bit, play for the crowd, play another chorus or two. Just
I'll do the
get them up and dancing.
I'll get the 10-minute version of House of the Rising Sun. That'll get them going.
Oh, when I had my radio show back in high school, there was a couple of songs that you always went to, and you had to run down the hall, and and you knew when the DJ wasn't in the booth because it'd be, oh, geez, Iron Butterfly again. American
Pie is another one where you could have that thing going for 9 minutes and not miss a beat, you know. So,
yep.
But welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is your Insurance Corner. That's Sean Hauser. My name is Bill Miksch. I'm president of WDMA Financial Group in Grays Lake, Illinois. We are in the second half of our Your Insurance Corner hour, and we're going to continue our discussion with Medicare today, and then we're going to continue it over the next couple weeks. I literally, Sean, just so you know, and I know my wife's going to roll her eyes when she hears this, I printed up all 130 pages of Medicare and You 2024, sitting right here next to me. This is my reading project for the next week.
You know, I've taken a look at some of those documents too, because, you know, now I'm getting to the age where I'm still, 10 years short, but I'm starting to get all these ads about, have you thought about Medicare? Have you thought about long-term? Have you thought about this? So I do the same thing. Mm-hmm. And I just sit on my computer and, Kelly will come down and she's like, it's like 12:30, right? And I'm still buried in something. Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, there's a lot of stuff out there.
There's a lot of stuff, and I implore people to learn because you want to be somewhat educated, but I'm here to tell you the moving parts are so complicated that I cannot say this enough. Use somebody that knows their way around the system that you trust. Whether it's me or somebody else, it doesn't matter. At this point, 33 years in the business, I'm not going to be broke tomorrow. So, even though I am, but that's a different story. This is complicated stuff, and I just want to add a couple things here. So we said 12,000 people today are turning 65. That's for starters. Not everybody needs to sign up for Medicare, but everybody, I promise you, is going to think they have to because somebody told them or they read a portion of the Medicare and You document, and it says if you don't pick up Part A and B of Medicare at 65, there's penalties or late fees or blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, read a couple more paragraphs through it before you find out that you might not have to sign up. Your friend or neighbor is going to say, well, Sean, if you don't sign up, there's penalties. You might not be able to get enrolled in Medicare Part A and B because, you signed up too late. They may be dead wrong. They could be right, but they didn't ask you how big of a company you worked for. The other thing I'm going to tell you is when you turn 64, ladies and gentlemen, and maybe to some degree 65, but for sure 64, you are going to get pounded with every Medicare supplement, Medicare Advantage plan, known to God, from everything from, your standard Humana's, Aetna's, Blue Crosses, to Shifting Sands Insurance Company Medicare supplement you've never heard of, but they're the latest, greatest thing. The premiums are hot, and, sign me up because, we got the cheapest premium and we're selling a Medicare supplement. Something else to keep in mind.
True.
Medicare supplements are not Medicare Advantage plans. Excuse me. Medicare supplements are also called Medigap. I kind of wish our industry would come to a conclusion of using common nomenclature, because people will conflate or confuse Medigap and Medicare Advantage often, or they'll not heard of Medigap and they'll say, what's that? And I'll say, well, it's Medicare supplement. Oh, well, how does it compare to Medicare Advantage? Well, it's like apples and grapefruit. They're not the same. They ostensibly will do the same thing in terms of covering some or all of your Part C and or your drug card plan, but they're different. The moving parts are different, and how they're used are different. But you're going to get pounded with this information, and some of the information that you're going to receive is enough to get your appetite. They're going to say 0 premium. Dental and vision are covered. Hearing aids are covered. They're not going to tell you what the out-of-pocket is. They're not going to tell you that they've only got 4 specialists in their network. They're not going to say any of that. Medicare supplement plans are going to say, any doctor you want to go to. Yep. Sort of. Any doctor, as long as they accept Medicare. Can't go to every doctor, because there are some doctors that will not accept Medicare. And if you go to a doctor that doesn't accept Medicare, you're not covered. Your supplement will not cover that. What about international travel? Will they put a footnote on their advertisement, or will they even bother talking about it? There's a bunch of moving parts, but you're going to get a tsunami worth of mail in the mail that's going to make your eyes water. What I tell my clients that work with me is, save that material. I want to see what it looks like. And some of it is okay, and others is enough to be dangerous. In other words, they're saying enough to get your attention. I'll just add this one other thing, and I've said this to you before, Sean, that there was an article that we talked about several months ago, and what part of the article said half the population in a Medicare Advantage plans like their plan. Very happy with it. Then a few paragraphs later, half the population in a Medicare Advantage plans don't understand their plan. How do you square that circle? And the answer is, they're not using it a lot, and they probably don't pay a premium for that. Now, I don't begrudge them for doing that. My in-laws are in one. I've got friends that are in one. Knock yourself out. I'll help you buy one. I'm not going to sell it to you, but I'll help you look at one if you want to do that, so that you can at least know that somebody else looked over your shoulder and you were happy with it. But what happens typically is that they're happy because they're not using it. There's no premium until they have to use it. And I've had calls in the middle of the year, Bill, I just had this episode thing hit me, or I just had open heart surgery. My out-of-pockets are $6,000. And we're like, Sean, we talked about this. Yeah, I know, but I can't do that now. I'm on a bunch of medications, and I'm worried about, out-of-pockets down the road, so get me out of this. I'm like, well, we'll have to wait until until open enrollment at the end of the year. And then, oh, by the way, we might have to go through medical underwriting to get approved. What do you mean? Well, remember old school before Obamacare, you had to fill out a bunch of medical questions that says, have you ever been sick and tell me about it? Yep. Well, that's what the Medicare supplements do, folks. After your initial enrollment into a Medicare supplement, 6 months later, after you've cleared your so-called open enrollment period or your eligibility for Part A and B, every Medicare supplement, short of one with Blue Cross of Illinois, in the country will require medical underwriting. And they can decline you. They can't rider you. They can't put a rider saying, Sean, we like you, but we don't like your knee, so we're not going to cover anything with your knee like they used to do in the old days. Can't do that. I had a client of mine who was in her mid-70s, had neuropathy and diabetes. She got declined. She's pretty much, unless she goes to a Medicare Advantage plan, she's stuck where she's at. She's not unhappy with it. She's a little frustrated with the premiums, but she's older, and it just comes with the territory. As you get older, the premiums are going to go up. So you got to pay attention. You do not have to go on to 65. I'm sorry, you don't have to go on to Medicare when you turn 65. I'm going to say that boldly, with one exception. And here's the first question I'm going to ask when you're signing up, or if you're starting to think about going on to Medicare, whether you're turning 65 or later, but for sure at 65, because you're going to hear if you don't sign up, you're going to get penalized. How big of a company, Sean, do you work for? Less than 20 employees, more than 20 employees, or more than 100 employees? So I'll just throw that out to you as if you and I are doing a Q&A. How big is your company, Sean?
400 employees.
Okay. So the rule that you have to follow, since you're getting all this mail, and you've talked to your friend Hung Sung Louie next door, that Louie is telling you, Sean, if he's scaring the crap out of you, if you don't sign up, you're going to get penalized. And I'm telling you, you don't have to. Here's why. For a company with more than 100 employees, your group plan is primary to Medicare always, period, full stop. You don't have to sign up for any Medicare Part A or B, period, ever, until you're ready to say, I'm done, I'm going to retire, what do I do now? I'll get to what do I do now in a second. Let me make this example a little bit better, though. If your company, Sean, only had 21 employees, I will say the same thing to you. Your group plan is primary to Medicare, period, full stop. You do not have to sign up for Medicare Part A and B at 65 if you're working for a company with more than 20 employees, let alone 100. The reason why I brought up 100 is that over 100, if you have a spouse, for example, who is under 65 and considered Social Security disabled, over 100 employees, your group plan is primary to Medicare. Under 100 employees, Medicare is first. So that's why I bring up how big of a company you work for. So if you ever shifted jobs again, Sean, and you went for a company that had only 50 employees, and God forbid something happened to Kelly that, she had to be going on Social Security disability, you have to pay attention to that, because once she goes on SSI, you got to go get Medicare. You don't have a choice. You're going to be told to go get Medicare. And now your Medicare plan is primary. You can still keep the group plan, or you can shift and see what it costs to be on Medicare supplement. A Medicare Advantage plan won't play ball with you until you're 65. Medicare supplements will. So under 20, you absolutely have to sign up for Medicare. Under 20, Medicare is going to go first, and your group plan is going to go second, period. And I want to lay out what this looks like mathematically. And I know doing math on the radio is a little challenging, so just walk with me on this. So if you don't have Medicare Part A and B, the rule that is going to be followed is the insurance carrier is going to assume Medicare paid first. And let's just do simple math. No hospitalization, just doctor visits, and you have $20,000 of medical bills. Let's say it's $20,240. Why do I say 240? Is because the deductible for Part B, which is the premium, the part of Medicare that you're going to pay for, we'll get into that later, probably next week, has a $240 deductible, and then it's 80/20 forever. There's no cap. So if you just bought Part A and B at retirement, you did not buy a supplement, you basically have no out-of-pocket. It's 80/20 forever. But in the group space, if you worked for a company that had less than 20 employees and you have a $20,000 medical bill, the insurance carrier is going to assume you paid your deductible, so that leaves $20,000 left, and Medicare was going to pay 80% of that, which is $16,000. When the EOBs, or the explanation of benefits, go from Medicare to, let's say, Blue Cross, and by the way, there is no explanation of benefits coming because you don't have Part A and B. So if nothing shows up, they're going to assume Medicare paid 80%. And that $20,000 bill, the carrier is going to apply their own deductible, and let's say 80-20. Let's just keep the math simple. The deductible's already been met, and you're paying, it's 80-20. They're going to pay 80% on $4,000, which is $3,200. And you're going to have $800 left. So you've got $800 plus $16,000 that your carrier assumed Medicare paid. So essentially, in this example, you're going to end up with a bill of $16,800. And you're going to go, well, why? I didn't need Medicare. I was working, which I've heard this, Sean. I've heard I was working. I didn't know I had to apply for Part A and B. This is one of those, oh, by the way, clauses that people hear from the people at the water cooler or the internet or their neighbor or their barbecue. Oh, you don't have to, as long as you're working, you don't have to sign up. Wrong answer. Yeah. I don't have to sign up because my company, I'm working. Yes, you might have to. If you're working for more than 20, you don't have to. But these rules are complicated. And if you do the wrong thing and you end up signing up for Medicare and you didn't need to, you're going to end up spending $174 a month for nothing. And it's worse, Sean, if you get into that IRMA tax, and I always forget what the acronym stands for. But I have a doctor client who is getting stuck with this IRMA thing, and his premiums went from $174, which he thought it was going to be. And I said, well, I saw the letter. I'm like, I don't believe it because I know what your tax return said, but we'll see. And then what's today? Tuesday? I think on Friday, I got a phone call from them. Bill, the premiums are $384. I'm like, okay, there you go. I told you that could happen, and it did. And she's freaking out. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Did we make the right decision? Yes, you did. Yes, you still made the right decision. You're still saving money at the end of the day, and your out-of-pocket's only going to be $240, as opposed to a $6,000 out-of-pocket with your group plan and a $600 a month premium on top of it to keep you on the spouse's plan. So they still made the right decision. If for no other reason, they don't have to put up with the smaller networks that they're dealing with, and they've got a $240 out-of-pocket, and she's got some moving parts. So it was still the right call. But this is the kind of stuff that gets confusing. So under 20, you must sign up. Otherwise, you are going to be on the hook for a bazillions of dollars of out-of-pocket cost. Over 20, you do not have to sign up. Now, let me just say, under 20, let's say you want to keep your group plan. You can do that. And there may be reasons to do that. The first one would be your prescriptions. That's the easy one. Because your prescription drug card, folks, under Medicare is completely different in a corporate plan than it is under Medicare. You might not have a copay for your generics. You may have a small copay for preferred generics or non-preferred generics. But when you start getting into name brand, it's not a flat dollar amount. It's a percentage of the retail cost. And you may also be subject to a $545 deductible before the insurance company even starts to pay anything. So it's a totally different thing. Another reason why to stay on your group plan is you may have a spouse that's significantly younger than you, or kids that still need to have coverage, and you refuse to put them on Medicaid if your income isn't that great, or on an Obamacare plan, because you take a look and my doctors aren't in the network, or the out-of-pocket's $9,400, or some other, ridiculous thing that they have to navigate through. So as bad as it may sound, your group plan may be the better choice to pacify and keep your wife and kids covered on a more affordable, more efficient, more economical health plan than an Obamacare plan, for example. So there may be reasons why to stay on the plan. If you choose to come off of it, just one other thing about this. So you become Medicare eligible and you work for a company, Sean, with less than 20 employees. Some states have what is called Cobra Light, I call it, or, it's not a Cobra plan. Under 20, Cobra is not a working animal in the corporate benefits area. It's over 20 employees where Cobra starts to kick in. So under 20, you may have a state continuation that may look similar to Cobra, or it may be a little different. Illinois, for example, has a 12-month provision. Illinois also has this thing, though, Sean, called Illinois spousal continuation, which says this: if an employee dies, retires, or divorces their spouse, and the covered spouse was 55 and older, the covered spouse gets to stay on the group health care plan until they're 65. That's called Cobra on steroids. And I've seen it. I've implemented it. A lot of brokers don't know this rule. A lot of insurance companies don't know this rule, at least the people that I talk to, sadly. But that rule exists. It doesn't exist in every state. But it's something that you need to pay attention to, and depending on the kind of plan you have, may be required to be offered to you if you die, retire, or divorce your spouse and the spouse is 55 and older. Short of that, if you go off your plan, you get Cobra. And a Medicare eligibility gets the spouse and or kids up to 36 months of Cobra, not 18 months. Timing is everything, folks, when you do that. So you got to pay attention to the timing, and again, get help and counsel on that subject matter, because if you make the wrong decision, a 36-month Cobra provision may end up turning out to be 18 months. And if your spouse is 57 or 58 and you're not offered Illinois continuation, you may be able to come back 3 years later and go, you never offered this to me, and the insurance company is going to have to acquiesce, or the employer, because it's a labor law, it's not an insurance company law. The employer is going to have to do something to figure out how to get you back on the health care plan. We're at the top of the hour, Sean, and we're just scratching the surface on this Medicare stuff. There's a lot more to do, a lot more to cover. I have 130 pages to read over the next couple of days. So I can't wait. That and a bag of no-dos. So any thoughts or considerations before we head out?
No, I'm just interested to hear more about this because, you hear a lot about Medicare, age 65, and then you hear all of the plans. And if you watch any of the infotainment channels, CNN, Fox, MSNBC, etc., it seems like they're 100% financed by these companies that offer these plans. And like you said, there's a lot of, it sounds too good to be true. There's probably some too good to be true out there. And so, I'm interested to keep this conversation going. Yeah,
there's a lot of moving parts. So, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your week. Hopefully the weather is better where you are. Hopefully it gets better here in Chicago. Sean, enjoy your week. Tell Kelly we said hi. And for that, this is Your Insurance Corner signing off. My name is Bill Miksch, president of WDMA Financial Group in Grays Lake. Have a wonderful night, everybody. Take care. See you next week.